The space between stars was never truly empty. Trails of light from passing ships cut through the darkness, connecting worlds across vast distances. One such trail belonged to Jisoo's luxury hovercraft, a sleek Lunar 7 that glided above the rocky terrain of the trade route. Jisoo frowned as she checked the navigation display. The journey from the Human Coalition outpost to the Velderan mining colony would take another 3 hours. She sighed and adjusted the climate controls. At least she could travel in comfort. Warning: gravitic stabilizer malfunction detected, announced the vehicle's computer voice. Recommended action: reduce speed and seek immediate assistance. What? No. Jisoo tapped frantically at the control panel. Run diagnostics again. Diagnostics confirm. Gravitic stabilizer failure imminent. Safety protocols engage. The Lunar 7 began to descend, its smooth glide becoming a wobbly hover until the craft settled onto the dusty ground with a gentle thud. Jisoo slammed her hand against the dashboard. Stupid machine. Do you know how much I paid for you? She pulled up the communication screen. Connect me to Lunar Emergency Services. Connecting, replied the computer, after a moment. Warning: communication signal weak in current location. Estimated wait time for response: 45 minutes. Jisoo groaned and leaned back in her seat. This was not how her day was supposed to go. She had an important meeting with the Velderan Council about expanding her luxury goods business. Being late was not an option. Outside her window, the landscape was barren and lonely. The trade route rarely saw traffic these days since the new hyperspace bypass opened. Just her luck to break down here. 20 minutes passed. Jisoo had tried 3 different emergency services, but all gave the same answer: long wait times. She was considering getting out to inspect the damage herself when her sensors detected an approaching vehicle. A plain black craft slowed as it approached her stranded Lunar 7. It wasn't a service vehicle, no markings or logos. The craft parked a respectful distance away, and the door slid open. A man stepped out. He was tall with dark skin that contrasted with the light-colored work clothes he wore. He walked with confidence, but without hurry, giving Jisoo time to observe him through her tinted windows. Jisoo's lips tightened. She didn't recognize his species at first, not Velderan or Zoraxian. As he came closer, she realized he was human, with ancestral roots from Earth's African continent. She felt a flicker of relief that at least he wasn't alien, then immediately chided herself for letting her guard down. Strange humans on deserted trade routes could be just as dangerous. The man stopped a few paces from her craft and gestured at her window. Jisoo reluctantly lowered it halfway. Having trouble? The man asked. His voice was deep and calm. I noticed your craft settled on the ground. That's not normal for a Lunar 7. I've called for service already, Jisoo replied stiffly. The man nodded. Those response times can be long out here. I know a bit about these models. Could be a simple fix. Jisoo studied him more carefully. His clothes, while clean, were clearly work clothes, the kind mechanics and service people wore. Nothing about him suggested wealth or status. What was he doing out here in an unmarked craft? No thank you, she said sharply. I prefer to wait for certified professionals. The man smiled slightly. I understand. Safety first. He gestured toward her craft's underside. But if it's the gravitic stabilizer, which I suspect it is, I could have you back on your way in 15 minutes. Jisoo felt a surge of irritation. Look, I don't need help from someone like you. This is a premium vehicle worth more than you probably make in a year. I'm not letting just anyone touch it. The man's expression didn't change. Someone like me. You know what I mean, Jisoo said, waving her hand dismissively. Some random person who happens to be passing by. For all I know, you could damage it more or steal components. These parts are valuable. I see. The man took a small step back. Well, the offer stands if you change your mind. I'll be here for a few more minutes. I won't change my mind, Jisoo snapped. I don't trust your kind with my property. A brief shadow passed over the man's face, so quick Jisoo almost missed it, but his voice remained even. My kind. Mechanics, drifters, whatever you are, Jisoo said, though she knew perfectly well how her words could be interpreted. Part of her felt bad, but her frustration overrode any guilt. Just people who show up out of nowhere offering help that nobody asked for. The man looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded once. I understand. Good luck with the service call. He turned and walked back to his craft. It was only then that Jisoo noticed the details she had missed before. The plain black craft had subtle customizations that marked it as something special. The engine made almost no sound as it powered up. The man's simple work clothes, on closer inspection, were made of high-quality materials. As the black craft rose into the air, it performed a perfect vertical ascent that only the most advanced gravitic systems could manage. Jisoo felt a twinge of doubt. Wait, she said, but it was too late. The craft accelerated smoothly and disappeared down the trade route. Jisoo sat back in her seat, suddenly aware of the silence around her. She checked the emergency service status again. 2 hours until arrival. She would definitely miss her meeting now. Outside, the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the rocky landscape. Jisoo tried to distract herself by reviewing notes for her meeting, but her mind kept returning to the man in the black craft. Something about him had seemed oddly familiar, though she was certain they had never met. After an hour, she grew restless and decided to examine the stabilizer herself. Jisoo had some basic technical knowledge, enough to check if there was an obvious problem. She changed from her business attire into more practical clothes she kept for emergencies and exited the craft. The underside of the Lunar 7 housed the complex system of gravitic stabilizers that allowed it to hover. Jisoo located the access panel and opened it. Inside, she saw a twisted component and leaking fluid, definitely beyond her ability to fix. As she closed the panel, a cloud of dust announced the arrival of the service vehicle. A small battered craft with outer rim repairs, painted on the side, landed nearby. A Zoraxian technician with blue-tinted skin and 4 arms emerged, carrying a toolkit. Sorry for the wait, the Zoraxian said, approaching Jisoo. Not many of us service techs out this way anymore. I'm Kraz. It's about time, Jisoo replied. I have an important meeting in the colony. Kraz examined the Lunar 7 with professional interest. Nice craft. Don't see many of these. Let's have a look at what's wrong. The technician opened the same panel Jisoo had checked. After a moment, Kraz whistled, a peculiar sound through Zoraxian breathing tubes. Bad stabilizer failure. We'll need to tow you in. This isn't a quick roadside fix. How long will repairs take? Jisoo asked, her heart sinking. Can't say for sure until we get it to the shop, but there's only one place near here that has certified parts for a Lunar 7. Where's that? Stellar Motors dealership at the colony. They're the only authorized service center in this sector. Kraz began preparing the tow equipment. Good news is they're the best. Bad news is, without an appointment, you might be waiting a while. Jisoo sighed as she watched the technician attach the tow connectors to her craft. The sun had completely set now, and stars filled the sky above. Somewhere among those stars, business opportunities were slipping away because of a broken part. As the tow craft lifted her Lunar 7 gently into the air, Jisoo couldn't help but wonder if she should have accepted help from the stranger. Maybe he really could have fixed it in 15 minutes. Maybe she had misjudged him. But such thoughts were useless now. She settled into the passenger seat of the tow vehicle, watching the dark landscape pass below as they headed toward the colony, unaware that her day was about to get much more complicated. The Stellar Motors dealership stood like a shining beacon at the edge of the Velderan mining colony. Its glass walls reflected the morning sunlight, creating rainbow patterns on the ground below. Vehicles of all kinds were displayed in the large showroom, each more expensive than the last. After a long, uncomfortable ride in the Towcraft, Jisoo was tired and angry. Her luxury Lunar 7 was brought into the service area at the back of the dealership. The Zoraxian technician, Kraz, helped her fill out the paperwork before departing with a cheerful wave that Jisoo did not return. "Welcome to Stellar Motors," said a young man at the service desk. His name tag read Han. "How can we help you today?" "My vehicle needs immediate repair," Jisoo said, pointing to her Lunar 7, which was now being examined by several technicians. "I have an important business meeting that I'm already late for." Han checked his computer screen. "I see. The gravitic stabilizer needs replacement. Unfortunately, we're fully booked today." "That's not acceptable," Jisoo said, raising her voice. "Do you know who I am? I'm Jisoo Park, owner of Luxury Imports. I supply high-end earth goods to half the colonies in this sector." Han remained calm. "I apologize, Ms. Park, but we service vehicles in the order they arrive, unless there's a pre-booked appointment." "Then I want to speak to your manager," Jisoo demanded. "Someone here must understand the concept of priority service." "I'll get our service manager," Han said politely. He pressed a button on his communicator. "Jun, could you come to the front desk? We have a customer with special circumstances." Jisoo waited impatiently, tapping her fingers on the counter. The dealership was busy, with customers browsing the showroom and service staff moving quickly between tasks. Everyone seemed to know exactly what they were doing. Despite her anger, Jisoo had to admit the operation was impressive. A man in a crisp uniform approached the desk. "I'm Jun, the service manager. How can I help?" Jisoo explained her situation again, emphasizing her important business connections and how critical it was that her vehicle be repaired immediately. Jun listened carefully before responding. "I understand your frustration, Ms. Park. However, we have other customers who have been waiting since yesterday. The earliest we could look at your vehicle would be this afternoon." "That's not good enough," Jisoo insisted. "Who owns this place? I want to speak to the owner." Jun and Han exchanged glances. "The owner is quite busy today," Jun said hesitantly. "He has meetings with—" "I don't care what meetings he has," Jisoo interrupted. "My business is worth millions of credits. Surely he would want to know how I'm being treated." After a moment of silence, Jun nodded. "I'll see if he's available. Please wait in our customer lounge. Han will show you the way." The customer lounge was luxurious, with comfortable chairs and refreshment services. Jisoo took a seat but was too frustrated to relax. She watched through the glass wall as technicians worked on various vehicles in the service bay. 20 minutes passed before the door opened. Jisoo stood up, ready to voice her complaints to whoever was in charge. And then she froze. Walking toward her was the same man who had offered help on the trade route. He wore different clothes now, a tailored suit that fit perfectly, with a small silver pin on his lapel bearing the Stellar Motors logo. His expression was friendly but reserved. "Miss Park," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Ta Kim, owner of Stellar Motors. I understand you wanted to speak with me." Jisoo's mind raced. This couldn't be happening. The roadside mechanic was the owner of the largest vehicle dealership in the sector. She struggled to find words. You're the one from yesterday. On the road." Ta nodded. "Yes, that was me. I was returning from testing a new prototype when I saw your vehicle had stopped. I thought I might help. But you were dressed like a mechanic," Ta supplied. "I often work alongside my service team. It helps me understand our vehicles better." Jisoo felt her face grow hot. She remembered the things she had said, the way she had dismissed him. "I didn't realize who you were," she said quickly. "Few people do when I'm in work clothes," Tae replied. His voice remained neutral, but Jisoo thought she detected a hint of something, disappointment, perhaps, in his eyes. Todd gestured for her to sit down again, then took a seat opposite her. "Now how can I help with your Lunar 7? Jisoo tried to regain her composure. "My stabilizer failed on the trade route. I need it fixed urgently for a business meeting." The meeting with the Velderan Council, Tai asked. Jisoo looked surprised. How did you know about that? The business community here is small, Tai explained. I'm attending the same meeting to discuss a new transportation contract. It's been postponed until tomorrow now, actually. The council members had other urgent matters arise. Relief washed over Jisoo. So I haven't missed it. No, Tai confirmed. You'll have plenty of time to prepare. He tapped on his portable screen, reviewing information. Now, about your Lunar 7. The gravitic stabilizer needs complete replacement. It's an advanced component that requires specialized techniques to install correctly. How long will it take? Normally, about 6 hours of work. However, Ta paused, studying her face. Had you allowed me to help yesterday, I could have performed a temporary bypass that would have gotten you here safely. It would have taken about 15 minutes, as I mentioned. Jisoo felt a wave of embarrassment. I see. There's something else you should know, Ta continued. Our records show that you attempted to access the gravitic system yourself. Is that correct? I only opened the panel to look, Jisoo said defensively. I'm afraid that creates a complication. Tae's voice remained professional. The warranty terms for lunar models specifically state that unauthorized access to the gravitic systems can void the warranty. This is for safety reasons. These systems can be dangerous if handled improperly. Are you saying my warranty is void? Jisoo asked, alarmed. The repair would cost thousands without warranty coverage. Not necessarily, Tae replied. As the dealer principal, I have some discretion in these matters. But I am curious, why did you refuse my help yesterday, only to come to my dealership today? Jisoo shifted uncomfortably in her seat. I didn't know it was your dealership, and you didn't look like someone who would know about luxury vehicles. What does someone who knows about luxury vehicles look like, Ms. Park? Before Jisoo could answer, the door opened and Han entered. Mr. Kim, your guests from the Galactic Trade Federation have arrived for the scheduled meeting. Ta nodded. Thank you, Han. Please show them to the conference room. I'll join them shortly. He turned back to Jisoo. Duty calls. I need to attend this meeting, but I've instructed June to add your vehicle to today's service schedule. It should be ready by evening. Thank you, Jisoo said, feeling strangely humble. And about yesterday. We all make judgments based on appearances, Ta said, standing up. What matters is whether we learn from those moments. As he walked toward the door, Jisoo noticed a group of beings entering the main showroom. They weren't human. Their skin colors ranged from deep purple to pale green, and some had more than 2 arms. They moved with the careful precision of those unused to Earth's gravity. Who are they? Jisoo asked. Todd paused at the door. Representatives from the Galactic Trade Federation. They're considering a major contract with Stellar Motors to distribute our vehicles throughout their systems. It would be the first human-manufactured vehicles to receive such widespread approval. That's impressive, Jisoo admitted. Thank you. Ta smiled slightly. Perhaps we'll see each other at the council meeting tomorrow, Ms. Park. I look forward to hearing your presentation. After Tai left, Jisoo remained seated, thinking about everything that had happened. Through the glass wall, she watched as Tai greeted the alien representatives with respectful gestures specific to each of their cultures. They responded warmly, clearly comfortable with him. One of the aliens, tall with leaf-like appendages instead of hair, glanced toward the customer lounge and said something to Ta. Ted replied briefly, and the alien nodded. Jisoo wondered what they had discussed. Had Ta told them about their encounter on the trade route, about how she had treated him? A service technician approached her. Ms. Park, I'm Min, the head technician. Your vehicle has been moved into Bay 3 for priority service. Would you like to wait here, or would you prefer transportation to your accommodation? I'll wait, Jisoo said. And thank you. As Min left, Jisoo turned her attention back to the showroom, where Tai was now leading the alien delegation toward the conference room. She couldn't help but notice how easily he moved between worlds, equally at home under a vehicle in work clothes, or negotiating with galactic representatives in a tailored suit. Jisoo had built her business on understanding luxury. But watching Tai, she realized there was a kind of status she had never considered before, one that wasn't about what you owned or how you looked, but about who you were and how you treated others. It was a humbling thought. Jisoo sat in the customer lounge for over an hour, watching the busy service department through the glass wall. Every now and then, she glanced toward the conference room, where Tai was meeting with the aliens from the Galactic Trade Federation. The meeting seemed to be going well, based on the occasional laughter and animated gestures she could see. Min, the head technician, had promised to give her updates on her vehicle's repair. True to his word, he approached the lounge with a tablet in hand. "Miss Park, I have some information about your Lunar 7, Min said as he entered. Jisoo stood up. "Is it fixed already?" "No, I'm afraid not. We've removed the damaged stabilizer, but we've discovered another problem." Min showed her images on his tablet. The secondary power coupling was also damaged. This often happens when the stabilizer fails. Without replacing this part too, the new stabilizer might fail again soon. "So replace it," Jisoo said with a sigh. "How much longer will it take?" "That's the issue. We don't have that specific coupling in stock. It's a rare part and..." "You don't have the part." Jisoo's voice rose. "This is supposed to be the best service center in the sector." Min remained calm. "It is an unusual situation. This coupling is typically only needed during the 5-year major service, and your vehicle is only 2 years old. We can order the part, but it will take at least 3 days to arrive." 3 days? Jisoo couldn't believe what she was hearing. "I can't wait 3 days. I have meetings, appointments." "There might be another option," Min said cautiously. "Mr. Kim's personal prototype craft has a compatible coupling. He sometimes allows us to use parts from his vehicles in emergency situations, but I would need his approval." Jisoo felt her anger fade, replaced by a strange mix of hope and embarrassment. After how she had treated Tai on the road, would he really help her now? "Could you ask him?" she said, her voice softer than before. "I'll try, but he's in an important meeting. It might be a while before." The door to the lounge opened, and Tai entered with one of the alien delegates, the tall one with leaf-like appendages instead of hair. Both looked at Jisoo with interest. "Ms. Park," Ta said with a nod. "This is Ambassador Learville of the Ardanian Collective, a key member of the Galactic Trade Federation. Ambassador, this is Jisoo Park, who owns Luxury Imports." The ambassador made a graceful gesture that Jisoo recognized as an Ardanian greeting. "Your reputation reaches even to our worlds, Ms. Park. Your taste in Earth artifacts is much admired." Despite her surprise, Jisoo returned the greeting properly. Her business had taught her the importance of alien customs. "The honor is mine, Ambassador. Your people have always valued beauty and craftsmanship." The ambassador seemed pleased by her response. "Indeed. In fact, I was telling Ta that some of your imported items would make excellent additions to our new diplomatic vessel." Jisoo glanced at Tai, confused by this unexpected turn. He gave her a small smile. "The ambassador mentioned interest in Earth luxury goods, and I immediately thought of your company," Tai explained. "I suggested you might be able to provide a custom package for their new ship." Yes, of course," Jisoo said, quickly shifting to business mode. "I would be honored to prepare some options for you, Ambassador." "Excellent," the ambassador said. "Perhaps we could discuss this further at the council meeting tomorrow." "I look forward to it," Jisoo replied. After the ambassador excused himself to rejoin the other delegates, Jisoo turned to Ta. "Thank you for the recommendation. I didn't expect that." "Your business is the best at what it does," Ta said simply. "Your personal opinions and mine are separate matters." He looked at Min. "What's the status update?" Min explained the situation with the power coupling. Tai listened carefully, then nodded. Use the coupling from my prototype. The test phase is complete anyway, and the new model is scheduled for production next month. Are you sure, sir? Min asked. That's your personal vehicle. It's just a part, Ta said. Parts can be replaced. Ms. Park's time is more valuable. Min nodded and hurried back to the service bay. Jisoo watched him go, then turned to Ta. Why are you helping me? She asked. After how I treated you on the road. Ta considered her question for a moment. Do you know why I stopped to help you yesterday? Because you recognize the Lunar 7 as one of your products. No. Ta shook his head. I stopped because someone needed help. That's all. The same reason I'm helping you now. Jisoo felt shame wash over her. I made assumptions about you based on how you looked. Yes, you did, Ta agreed. His voice wasn't angry, just matter of fact. And those assumptions said more about you than they did about me. Jisoo had no reply to that. Ta was right, and they both knew it. I should return to my meeting, Ta said. Your vehicle should be ready in about 4 hours. Min will keep you updated. As he turned to leave, Jisoo spoke up. Wait, I want to apologize properly. What I said was wrong. I was stressed about my meeting, but that's no excuse. Ta paused at the door. Apology accepted. But if you really want to make amends, perhaps consider that many people don't have the luxury of being judged by their character first. After Tai left, Jisoo sat back down, his words echoing in her mind. Through the glass wall, she watched as he rejoined the alien delegates in the conference room. They welcomed him warmly, clearly respecting him despite the fact that humans were relatively new to the galactic community. A few minutes later, the conference room door opened, and the entire group moved toward the showroom floor. Tad was showing them something, a vehicle covered by a large cloth. With a dramatic gesture, he pulled the cloth away to reveal a sleek spacecraft unlike anything Jisoo had seen before. Even from a distance, she could tell it was special. Its design combined elements from different alien cultures with the best of human engineering. The delegates circled it, clearly impressed. One of them pointed to a specific feature, and Ta nodded, explaining something that made the aliens exchange excited looks. Jisoo realized she was witnessing something important, perhaps the biggest deal Stellar Motors had ever made. And despite how she had treated him, Ta had still recommended her business to the ambassador. The afternoon passed slowly. Jisoo used the time to prepare notes for her meeting with the Veldaren Council. Occasionally, she glanced toward the service bay, where Min and his team worked on her Lunar 7. Once she spotted Ta in work clothes, helping the technicians install the power coupling from his prototype. He worked with skilled hands, clearly familiar with every part of the vehicle. It was nearly evening when Min approached the lounge again. Ms. Park, your vehicle is ready. Jisoo followed him to the service bay, where her Lunar 7 waited, looking cleaner than when she had arrived. Ta stood nearby, reviewing the final inspection report. Everything checks out, he said, handing her the vehicle's control key. The new stabilizer is actually an upgraded model. It should perform better than the original. And the power coupling from my prototype is a custom design that's more durable than the standard part. Thank you, Jisoo said. How much do I owe for the repairs? Ta handed her a tablet showing the bill. The total was much lower than Jisoo had expected. This can't be right, she said, looking at the figure. The parts alone should cost more than this. We didn't charge for the power coupling, Tai explained. Consider it a goodwill gesture between business associates. After all, we'll be seeing each other at the council meeting tomorrow. Jisoo wasn't used to being shown kindness she hadn't earned. It made her uncomfortable, but also grateful. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything, Tai replied. Just remember this feeling the next time you meet someone who doesn't match your expectations. As Jisoo prepared to leave in her repaired vehicle, she noticed the alien delegates watching from the showroom. The ambassador nodded to her with respect. Had they been told about what happened on the trade route? Had they witnessed her earlier behavior at the dealership? It didn't matter. What mattered was that Ta had treated her with fairness and professionalism despite her rudeness. He had judged her by her business reputation, not by her personal flaws. As she drove away from Stellar Motors, Jisoo made a decision. She would prepare something special for the ambassador, not just to secure a business deal, but because it was the right thing to do. And at the council meeting tomorrow, she would show Ta that his kindness hadn't been wasted. Sometimes, Jisoo realized, the most valuable lessons came from the most unexpected teachers. 1 week had passed since Jisoo's encounter with Ta at Stellar Motors. The Velderen Council meeting had gone well for both of them. Jisoo secured a contract to supply luxury goods to the colony's new cultural center, while Ta's company won the transportation contract he had been seeking. Tonight was the official unveiling of Stellar Motors' newest spacecraft model, the one Jisoo had glimpsed during her time at the dealership. The event was being held at the Grand Hall of the colony, the most prestigious venue available. Everyone who mattered in the sector's business community had received an invitation, including Jisoo. She stood in front of her mirror, adjusting her formal wear. The invitation had specified attire appropriate for a historic occasion, and Jisoo had chosen her finest outfit. As she fastened a simple necklace, she thought about how much had changed in just 1 week. The meeting with Ambassador Lirval had led to a significant contract for her company. The Ardanian Collective wanted Earth luxury items for all their diplomatic vessels, not just one. It was the kind of deal that could double the size of her business. And it had happened because Ta had recommended her, despite how she had treated him. Jisoo's Lunar 7 hummed softly as she drove to the Grand Hall. The new stabilizer worked perfectly, better than the original, just as Ta had promised. She still felt strange when she thought about how he had given up a part from his personal prototype to help her. The Grand Hall was already crowded when Jisoo arrived. Humans mingled with various alien species, all dressed in their cultural best. Business leaders chatted with diplomats while servers offered refreshments. A large object covered by a shimmering cloth stood on a raised platform at the center of the hall, surrounded by subtle lighting. Jisoo recognized several important figures: the head of the Velderen Mining Guild, 3 members of the Galactic Trade Federation, and even a representative from Earth's Interstellar Commerce Commission. This was indeed a major event. She was admiring a display of Stellar Motors' historic achievements when a familiar voice spoke behind her. "Good evening, Ms. Park. I'm glad you could make it." Jisoo turned to see Ta, dressed in an elegant suit with the Stellar Motors emblem on his lapel. He looked every bit the successful business leader he was. "Mr. Kim," she greeted him with a respectful nod. "Congratulations on your event. It seems everyone important is here." "Not quite everyone," Ta replied with a small smile. "We're still waiting for a few key guests. But I wanted to thank you personally for the package you sent to Ambassador Lirval. He was very impressed by your selection. It was the least I could do after your recommendation," Jisoo said. "The contract with the Ardanian Collective will transform my business." "Your business earned that opportunity," Ta said simply. "I merely made an introduction." A tall human woman approached them, holding a recording device. Her press badge identified her as Suk, a journalist with Interstellar Business News. "Mr. Kim, may I have a moment of your time?" Suk asked. "Our viewers are eager to learn more about tonight's unveiling." "Of course," Ta agreed. "Ms. Park, please excuse me. Perhaps we can continue our conversation later." As Ta spoke with the journalist, Jisoo moved through the crowd, greeting business associates and making new connections. Everyone was speculating about the new spacecraft model hidden beneath the cloth. Rumors suggested it would revolutionize interstellar travel for private citizens. An hour into the event, lights dimmed, and a spotlight focused on the covered platform. Conversations quieted as Tai stepped onto the stage. "Distinguished guests, friends, and colleagues," he began, his voice clear and confident. "Thank you for joining us tonight. What we unveil here represents not just a new product, but a new chapter in human participation in the galactic community." Ta gestured to several alien delegates seated in the front row. For too long, humans have been seen as newcomers to the stars, skilled but isolated, innovative but insular. Tonight, that changes. What we present is not merely a human achievement, but a truly collaborative creation. He invited the aliens to join him on stage. Each represented a different species, and together they surrounded the covered object. The Galaxy One is the first spacecraft designed by multiple species, for multiple species, Ta continued. It incorporates Ardanian gravitic theory, Veldaran metallurgy, Zoraxian energy systems, and human engineering. Together, we have created something none of us could have built alone. At a signal from Tai, they all gripped the shimmering cloth and pulled it away, revealing what lay beneath. The spacecraft was beautiful. Its lines flowed like water, combining function with elegance. The hull shimmered with a material Jisoo had never seen before, something that seemed to shift colors as the light changed. It was smaller than most interstellar vessels, but appeared more advanced. The Galaxy One can travel twice as far on half the fuel of current models, Tai explained as the crowd murmured in appreciation. Its environmental systems adapt to the needs of any known sentient species, and most importantly, it is affordable enough to be purchased by small business owners and private citizens, not just large corporations and governments. The audience applauded enthusiastically. Jisoo joined in, genuinely impressed. This was indeed revolutionary. A spacecraft that could make interstellar travel accessible to ordinary people. As Tai continued explaining the vessel's features, Jisoo noticed Ambassador Lirval watching her from across the room. The ambassador made his way toward her. "Miss Park," he greeted her. "Your gift selection was most thoughtful. The ancient Earth writing instrument was particularly appreciated. I'm pleased you enjoyed it," Jisoo replied. It seemed appropriate. A tool used to sign important agreements throughout human history. Indeed, the ambassador's leaf-like appendages rippled in what Jisoo recognized as amusement. Ta spoke highly of your cultural knowledge, though he also mentioned your first meeting was less harmonious. Jisoo felt her face warm. He told you about that? Only when I asked why a human of his status was driving alone on a remote trade route dressed in work clothes. The ambassador's tone was gentle. He said it was his way of staying connected to the real work of his company. A commendable practice among our people as well. Before Jisoo could respond, the lights brightened and music began to play. The formal presentation was over, and the event had shifted to its celebration phase. Tai was now surrounded by well-wishers and potential business partners. Later in the evening, Jisoo found herself near a quiet corner where Tai was speaking with Suk, the journalist. The real story isn't the technology, Tai was saying. It's that different species put aside their prejudices to work together. We had to overcome assumptions about each other's capabilities and intentions. That seems to be a specialty of yours, Suk replied. Breaking down preconceptions, like when you helped that stranded merchant despite her initial rejection. Jisoo froze, realizing they were talking about her. She was about to slip away when Tai noticed her. "Miss Park," he called. "Please join us. Suk is writing an article about cross-cultural business relationships." Reluctantly, Jisoo approached them. To her surprise, Ta didn't seem embarrassed or angry about her presence during this conversation. "I was just telling Suk that humanity's greatest asset isn't our technology or resources," Tai explained. "It's our capacity to learn and grow from our mistakes, to recognize when our assumptions are wrong and to change our perspective." Suk looked at Jisoo with interest. "Mr. Kim mentioned that your companies will be collaborating on the Galaxy One launch. Your luxury goods will be part of the standard package for diplomatic models." This was news to Jisoo. She looked at Tai in surprise. He smiled slightly and nodded. "The contract was finalized this morning," he confirmed. "Ambassador Lirval was quite insistent after receiving your gift." "I thank you," Jisoo said, feeling genuinely grateful. "This partnership means a lot to my company." "It's good business," Ta said simply. "Your products complement our vehicles. Together, we offer something unique." As the evening drew to a close, Jisoo found herself standing next to Tai as they watched guests departing. "I've been thinking about what happened on the trade route," she said quietly, "about the assumptions I made." "And?" Ta prompted when she paused. "And I was wrong," Jisoo admitted. "Not just about you specifically, but about my approach to people generally. I've spent so long focusing on luxury items that I started to think the value of things and people was only in their appearance." Ta nodded thoughtfully. "Recognition is the first step toward change. Is that why you're still talking to me? Because you think I can change?" "I'm talking to you because everyone deserves the chance to be more than their worst moment," Tai replied. "That's what humanity brings to the galactic community, not just our technology or our resources, but our belief that people can grow beyond their limitations." As Jisoo drove home that night, she thought about Ta's words. Her Lunar 7 moved smoothly through the darkness, its path illuminated by stars above and colony lights below. She had built her business on recognizing value in beautiful things. Now she was learning to see value beyond appearances, in people's actions, in their capacity for growth, in the connections they formed across differences. It was a different kind of luxury, Jisoo realized. Not one you could buy or sell, but one you had to earn through understanding and respect. And perhaps that was the most valuable discovery of all.